Hey guys, Brian from Boas here. Spring is always my favorite time of year because it's the start of the baby boa birthing season. And the baby boa birthing season for 2025 is right around the corner here. And so today I just wanted to give you guys an update on what I'm doing to get ready for the baby boas that are going to be born over the next few months. So if you've been following the channel, you know that I've been breeding these boas since November was when the season officially started, and I gave them a brief cooling and paired them up, and they were together November, December into January, at which point I separated them and fed them and then put the pairs back together. So I always have one male and one female and basically just put them together and I let them do their thing, let nature take its course. I don't try to interfere too much. And so the last few months I've been separating them about once a month for feeding, and they're separated for about a week and then they go back together. And now that we're getting into April, it's obvious that some of them have something going on. So hopefully they're gravid and full of a lot of really nice babies. It's possible that they have slugs as well. So unfortunately, until the babies are born and on the ground, I don't know that it's been successful. But I'm watching them really closely and monitoring them and getting ready for the babies. And so right now I'm checking on my gravid females that look like they're going to be giving birth relatively soon. And I can find this out by checking their post-ovulation shed date. So I pay careful attention when they have a shed that typically is longer. The shed cycle is about 2 weeks or so. They will shed, and then about 105 days after that shed is typically when the babies are born. So I write down that shed date so I can calculate the due date. And so as the spring unfolds, we have more and more due dates coming. It doesn't necessarily mean that the baby is going to be born exactly on that date. And sometimes I don't get a post-ovulation shed and the babies aren't born until like a month or two after, or even they could be born before that. But 9 times out of 10, it gives me a pretty good idea about when the babies are going to be born. So my philosophy when breeding the boas, the males and the females, I let them do their thing. And typically I only, check on them a few times a week, maybe, twice a week or so. But once the females are gravid, I'm checking in on them at least every other day, if not every day. And I just want to check the temperature. I have my temperature gun. I check the temperature they're reading on their body as well as on their hot spot. And I want the hot spot to be about 88, 89 degrees. And typically their body temperature will be just a few degrees cooler, 86, 87 degrees. And in fact, I know that if the body temperature stays high, that's a pretty good sign that the female's gravid, along with coiling over the hot spot and not moving very much. So it's pretty obvious when you have a female that might be gravid. So I'm checking on them, making sure they're okay, giving them fresh water. But I disturb them as little as possible. I won't handle a gravid female unless absolutely necessary, because if you handle them roughly, or even, not roughly, you may, cause them to go into labor or to, abort all of the babies. And that is something that can happen. It's happened to me before, where a female just has stillborn babies, they're born early, and they're all dead. And it's really, really heartbreaking. So I want to do all I can so that doesn't happen. Okay, so when the babies are here, I have to basically be ready to take them out and to clean up the female and get the babies in a separate tub and get everybody established. And typically I don't like to leave my females with the babies for more than a day or two. It's happened before where I've had babies born when I wasn't here. And in some cases, the babies were born a few days. I was off on a trip or something and the babies were born early. And I haven't had any issues. I've always worried about this when I've had to leave during baby boa birthing season, but I've never had any issues. And the babies have remained in the tub for up to a few days. However, I do like to get them out as quickly as possible, just in case something went wrong and I can, help the mother and or the babies. So I'm checking on them pretty regularly to see if there's signs that they're going to be giving birth. Typically they'll be kind of start moving around more a few days before the birth, and they'll kind of line up against the side of the cage, and that's when I know something is about to happen. I'm also planning on the babies, and I'm going to have, quite a few babies I'm going to have to take care of. So right now I'm going through all my racks. I'm cleaning all the tubs, setting up the racks, making sure they all work properly. I want to have the caging ready for when the babies are born, just so that it's ready to go. The other thing that I'm doing is I worry about the food for the babies. So I'm gearing up my mouse breeding, and most of my baby boas will not eat frozen thawed mice from the beginning. I have to give them live mice for a few feedings before I can wean them over to the frozen thawed. In fact, some of my baby boas, like some of the island boas, the crawl key and cocker key, etc., they usually won't eat anything but live for the first few months, up to even a year in some cases. In fact, some of them won't eat mice at all, and I have to kind of do some tricks to try to get them to eat, which is always, kind of a fun thing. But I'm gearing up just to make sure that the babies are ready to go. I don't want to be in a situation where I don't have enough live mice to feed on my babies. Last year I had a lot of boas. I had more boas born last year than any other year. And, it was kind of challenging feeding all these babies and getting them all ready to go. So that some of the lessons I learned last year I'm taking into account for this year. The last thing I wanted to say for today's video is I'm already getting quite a few emails and messages from people that are interested in certain types of boas, and they want to see if I'm going to have babies this year. Well, I don't know, and like I said before, I can't guarantee anything until the babies are on the ground and ready to go. However, if you do have a certain type of boa in mind, shoot me an email. I can let you know ahead of time what I might have, and then typically when I have babies born, I'll announce it in the video and kind of show you guys the litter. So I've done that in the past, and I intend to continue doing that for this year's litters that are going to be born. But again, it's going to be about a month and a half to 2 months after they're born until they're ready to go. I don't do waiting lists. People will always approach me about being on a waiting list. I've tried to do that in the distant past, and it just has not been fruitful for either myself or for the people that want the boas. So it's first come, first serve once the animals are ready to go. If you do have a certain type of boa in mind, again, I recommend you reach out to me, let me know, and although you're not going to be on a waiting list per se, I can take that into account, and if I remember, I can reach out to you when the animals are ready. If you really want a certain type of boa, such as the Tarahumara boa like this one, and hopefully this guy sired a litter. This is a really small boa. He's only maybe 3.5 feet or so, but this is a mature adult Tarahumara boa who's already had a few litters, and hopefully he should continue making some babies for this year. So anyway, I hope you liked the video and it gave you some appreciation about getting ready for baby boas that are going to be born. Shoot me any questions you might have. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.